Nissan and Honda reportedly scrapping merger talks. That proposed deal would have created the world's third largest automaker. Joining us to discuss the implications, David Whiston, Morningstar's equity strategist for U.S. autos. David, great to speak with you here. What is your reaction to the potential unwinding of this deal?
Well, just to be clear, I don't cover either company. It's a colleague. But when it was first announced, just before Christmas, I was a little bit skeptical. I think like a lot of people who watch the industry were, because there wasn't a whole lot of benefits of really combining. It seemed like Nissan needed the deal more than Honda. And then there were media reports last night that basically Honda wanted to be the overlord, so to speak, in the deal. And I think Nissan understandably doesn't like that. So now that it may be falling apart. So I guess that's not surprising.
All right, let's talk about, more broadly speaking, the tariff story, because that's something that I know you have been closely tracking. Yahoo Finance had the opportunity to speak with Ford's CEO, Jim Farley, late last week, ahead of everything that played out over the weekend, asking him just about the impact that tariffs could potentially have on the industry. Let's take a listen to what he had to say, then I want to get your reaction on the other side.
Well, we think this will play out over the next couple months. And Ford has the largest U.S. manufacturing footprint, and so we're really encouraged about the administration's positive outlook on the auto industry and the impact on our overall economy. And we're really looking forward to working with them in a positive way so that we can get better outcomes to employ more people in the U.S.
David, how much of this has been priced into the risk here for these auto stocks?
Yeah, that's a bizarre one, because Trump came out on November 25th with a social media post saying he was going to do this. Then on the night of his inauguration in the Oval Office, he said on camera, I think February 1st. And then the market really didn't freak out a lot in between inauguration and February 1st, which seemed odd to me. And then we had a huge freak out initially on Monday morning. As we all know, I think GM was getting hit on November 26th, so I think some of this is priced in, but there's still a massive amount of uncertainty because nobody knows how long these tariffs last, if they even do come to fruition.
How justified is some of the selling that we're seeing then? I want to throw up a chart of GM stock, if we have it here, over the last 5 days, down about 5%, over the last month, down nearly 10%. Is that selling justified for these automakers given the policy uncertainty?
I think if you believe the tariffs are going to last, say, all of Trump's term or even beyond Trump's term, then yes. I think it's more likely a deal gets worked out. If you look at the terms of the executive orders on Monday for all three countries, China, Canada, and Mexico, that the White House put out, they're all about, in a word, drugs. They're not about trade. So it's about, can we get a deal done around drugs and probably also illegal immigration. And in that case, the tariffs probably don't last a long time if a deal can get done. And then in that case, you can go back to business as usual, for lack of a better word. And yeah, Jim Farley is right. They have the most U.S. exposure. But what doesn't get talked about enough is all the parts exposure. These tariffs are not good for anybody.
David, given that, how should investors be thinking about this? Who is then best positioned?
Well, purely on vehicle assembly, Ford is very well positioned. I think overall in the industry, I think Tesla has the highest American parts content, though. And that's the thing. Everyone loses here, because even if you make most of your production or even all your production in the United States, you're using, say, wire harnesses from Mexico, or you're using various parts, seats from Mexico, or something from Canada. Parts cross the border 7-8 times before they end up in a finished vehicle. Remember, North America has been a tariff-free zone since 1994. The auto industry's had some kind of tariff exemption back to the mid-60s. There was some piece of legislation. So you can't just disrupt that immediately and then pivot and revamp your supply chain in a few days. It takes billions of dollars to revamp, because you'd eventually have to have brick and mortar, and that can take a couple of years.